And now, your host, Bob Choat.
Welcome to this episode of the School Transformation Podcast. And today, I am so happy to have my next guest. I've known her for about 3-4 years now. We started talking over the phone and connecting via social media. And I found out a lot about her in terms of her backstory. Very, very, very impressive on everything. And when I introduce her, you're only going to get a part of her story, a small part, yet it's big. Shannon Knight is a survivor and thriver. Having survived breast cancer twice, including stage 4, she was faced with the challenge and fear of how to save her life. She refused chemotherapy and did some radiation and mastectomy. When conventional medicine failed, she discovered healing at a hospital in Mexico. And it was because of her courage and willingness to go searching for alternative cancer treatment that she is alive today. She survived. The death sentence hanging over her head has been removed for over 5 years. Since then, Shannon has become a cancer advocate and continues her education in order to help in her mission. With training as a certified life coach and other training, she helps survivors dealing with emotional issues from the cancer move forward. She has a deep empathy with what they're going through, and she knows how difficult the process is, especially when your doctor tells you you only have a short time to live. Shannon has been a guest on radio shows, podcasts, and documentaries. She is an author and writer who continues to champion her mission throughout her writing. Shannon, thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest. I've been wanting you on my show since the very beginning. I thought about you when I created this show. Again, thank you.
Bob, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having this School of Transformation. This is going to be so beneficial to so many people, having a larger platform like this. You've helped me in so many ways over the years. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Well, it's an honor as well. It's very rare that I get to meet an interview, yes, on this, but yet meet and have as a friend somebody who's been through the challenges you've been through and yet coming out better and more powerful than one can imagine. During our pre-interview, I talked about post-traumatic stress disorder because you have gone through a lot of that. Yet, more important, as who you are now, you have post-traumatic growth. You were able to grow through every single challenge that you've gone through. And before I get started on talking about your transformations, your greatest transformation, I want to ask you, what's your favorite quote and why?
Okay, it's a very simple quote, and I love this question. It is on my wall in my living room, so I can see it every day. It is, she designed a life she loved. It's pretty self-explanatory because it shows the empowerment that we have to actually design it, create it. I have another sign next to it that says, do what makes you oh so happy. And it gives me permission to be happy. I don't know who authored those. I just found those signs, and they are quotes, Bob. They are my favorite. Simple and straightforward.
Good. And that seems to be the way that you do live your life, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
I read every day. I've read ever since I was a child, and I have so many quotes that run through my mind. But for me to put those on my wall, that's pretty significant.
That is. A lot of people really don't do that, and yet you've done it. You've put it up on your wall. You live by those words. You don't just have those quotes just to have a quote. You live by those words. And that's powerful. That's the testament of those quotes. That's also the testament of you. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yes. And I say it to other people. I mention it in many conversations when I'm working with women. Just be happy. Give yourself permission to be happy. It's okay. It's okay if nobody wants what you want.
Oh, that is so cool. Well said. Okay, Shannon, after talking to you and finding out about your history and everything, you've gone through so many challenges and transformations. What would you say, and I know this is hard, what would you say that your greatest transformation is?
Well, I can significantly see it, just like when my father used to read me fairy tales, my brothers and sisters, you kind of knew when the turning point was in the story. So I would have to definitely say that the transformation in my life was fully recovering from stage 4 breast cancer, not just physically, but emotionally. That's when the biggest transformation started to kick in my life.
As you went through that transformation, What were some of the things that you were able to learn from it? What did you feel and so forth?
One of the most significant things I learned was when you're diagnosed with a recurrence of stage 4 breast cancer, and you can't breathe, it's in your lungs, it's in your bones, you're forced to be stronger than you ever have been. I knew at that time in my life that my life was, the days were numbered. I was told you only have 3 months to a year to live. All my loved ones around me, I saw them as people that would go on. They were grieving. They had their own kind of grief of me dying. Mm-hmm. But my grief was, I went through a transformation that went back and forth between being a Christian and okay with going to heaven to, this is the last Christmas I'm going to spend with my family. This is the last birthday of my son or my daughter. I began to take life very seriously in many different facets, the emotional, the physical, being completely aware of my surroundings and taking in each day, breathing it in fully and appreciating it. So my happiness meant so much to me, and my decision-making was so important. I literally tried to please people in the beginning with stage 3, people pleaser. Mm-hmm. Stage 4, I trusted myself. I knew that whatever decision I made on my cancer treatment, that I was going to be putting my arm out for chemotherapy, or I was going to be putting my arm out for healing therapies. And when I grew up, I was surrounded by cancer. I lost loved ones. If they were diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, it meant chemotherapy. No one had ever done alternative cancer treatment, and it meant a funeral later on. I was terrified, and that fear can be a motivator. Sometimes fear is debilitating, and sometimes fear is motivating. And that's what it was for me, to say to even my son and my daughter, look, whatever it is I decide to do, I'm the one making the decision. So whether I live or die, it's up to me, and I'm taking full responsibility here. So I decided I didn't want chemotherapy. I wanted to find a healthier way. That's what got me to make that decision to raise money in fundraising, Angels for Shannon, mm-hmm. and take that chance that intuitively I felt inside was the right thing to do. Even though family may think I was crazy or irresponsible, I made that choice.
And that's pretty typical, because when you mentioned your family thought that you were crazy and irresponsible, a lot of people deal with things not on the same level as the way you dealt with it, yet the family has an effect with a lot of people. What was it? Because I know you talked about the fear and then the strength to go find those alternative therapies. What was that mindset shift that enabled you to do that, to go from where you had stage 3 into stage 4? And it's a big leap from people pleasing to deciding to do your own thing. What was that shift?
The shift was recognizing simultaneously while making that shift that every single loved one, brothers, sisters, son, daughter, whether it was my son choosing his bride, he was getting married during that time, whether my daughter moved from Virginia to Las Vegas, I recognized that everybody was making their own decisions, and my opinions or thoughts didn't matter. So it was liberating to say, well, this is a pretty important decision I'm making, how to save my life. And if I listen to my twin sister, or if I listen to my father or my mother, it still comes down to me doing the treatment. So I had to be okay with it. And it came to self-respect and trusting myself and setting boundaries. I admit that setting those boundaries at first was kind of awkward and maybe even a little harsh or reckless, because I didn't know how to gently say, leave me alone, I know what I'm doing. I kind of pushed people away a little bit when they got a little bit too forceful with their opinion. But I still think this is healthy and part of that liberating, part of that journey. It was important that I at least, even though it was awkward, started setting the boundaries and showing that I respected myself and trusted myself and was going to walk my own path, just like we were in their lives. Whether it's living or dying, you're still going to walk your own path, and you need to respect others on their path and be respected for your choices.
And it's interesting how you were able to gain the strength. As you've told me before regarding your twin sister, you were considered the weaker one. Isn't that right?
Yes. The words that I remember relating to growing up were passive, tolerant, easygoing, down to earth, and a couple people saying I was spineless because I didn't stand up for myself. That is also a great strength, to be able to be quiet, allow things to happen, allow people to do what they do. And you don't see that until later on, but that is your greatest weakness can be your greatest strength later on.
Your determination as you were going through the stage 4 cancer and then eventually beating the cancer, coming out now, how many years has it been? 5 years?
August will be 6 years.
August will be 6 years. So now almost 6 years cancer-free. You were able to gain, like I said, the strength, going through that process, learning everything you did. And your sister went through cancer.
Yes, my twin sister.
Your twin sister went through cancer. Had you not done what you did, she may have had a negative outcome, correct?
I absolutely agree with you on that one, because my sister really leaned on me during that time and trusted me. And I wasn't used to that. It was quite the opposite. She had been in the Army for 3 years, very independent, such a great leader in her own life, regardless of what she did. And for me to be in that position where I had already been the pioneer on that path in our family, that uncharted territory for all of us, it was quite the switch. I gotta say, it was uncomfortable, Bob. I was walking in Hobby Lobby. I will never forget the phone call. I know everybody around me heard me talking, because she said, just tell me what to do. This was 2 months after her diagnosis. The doctors can be very convincing that you need to do chemo, you need to have the surgery in America for conventional therapies. And she had been on the journey with me. She had seen her own twin sister beat it, and her cancer was exactly the same as mine. Estrogen, progesterone positive, 95% in strength as far as the estrogen and the progesterone. How much more reassurance can an individual get than to have your own twin sister have the same diagnosis, having already gone that path, and still feel so scared to walk that path that she did?
Yes.
So in Hobby Lobby, I'm with my shopping cart, and she's just telling me what to do. And I said, do you understand? I've had women ask me the same question. They want me to make the decision for them. We're not clones. I said, sweetie, you're my twin sister. If I tell you to do what I did and do alternative cancer treatment and skip what the VA hospital is recommending, and it doesn't work, can you imagine the fallout from that with our family? What's going to happen to me? I said, I'm terrified. And she got forceful in the conversation. Tell me. And used some colorful language. Just tell me. And I finally said, all right, get your butt on that plane and go to CMN Hospital now. Don't wait. She went for it. She did the treatments and she beat it.
Yes.
What can I say about that?
You set the path. You went through the journey. Because of that, you saved your sister's life.
Yes. And how I wish I could do that for everybody else, Bob. Many people want me to tell them that if they go the way I went, it'll work for them too. But we're all different, and we all go at our own time. Many women wait.
Yes.
They wait before they ever contact me. It'll be the 11th hour. There's a lot of pressure there dealing with those questions, and I want to help. Believe me, I do. But still, I try to show each woman that she has hope. She has a path of her own, and it may be going to the same hospital I went to, but it may be going to one that she feels intuitively is the one for her. And we still need to be very aware of our intuition and what's guiding us.
You mentioned Angels for Shannon. What's the website address?
It's angelsforshannon.com, just like it sounds.
And people can actually go there, especially women, if they want to find out more about the whole process, where they can be helped as well, correct?
Yes. What that site is for, it's a phenomenal website. I put a lot of time into that, and I continue to do that. That website teaches people to do what we did, to raise money. It's creative. It teaches people how to embrace their community as a community that wants to be a hero, and how to be able to approach small businesses and ask them to donate dinner for two for your fundraiser. And people want to be heroes. There's a delivery, there's a way to talk to people. So I include all of that in the website. It's a wonderful website.
Good. I think this created a sense of purpose for you beyond the cancer that you had. Do you think that it helped you not only to grow, also stave off what you went through in terms of cancer, because that mindset also affected your body?
That's such a great question, because I tell women that while they have cancer, while they're battling, while they're coming up with a plan, that right now, today, they can start helping people just on their Facebook, putting something positive to someone who feels like they're hanging on by their pinky. They're ready to fall. They can't take another minute. And when we give during our time of strife, we're actually helping ourselves. Starting Angels for Shannon for myself included a promise that when and if I got through this battle, that I wanted Angels for Shannon to go on and help others. And I think our value, while we are sick, we have this misconception that we're not valuable, that we can't do anything significant. And on the contrary, people are paying very close attention to us when we're on. So cancer is a big deal, especially in the United States. And so when we have a diagnosis of cancer, especially late stage, it's the one time in our life where everyone's paying attention, and you can do something positive to help others.
That's perfect. That's well stated. That will give them that sense of purpose, a mission, like you've been on this mission. A lot of great stuff, and we'll talk about it at the end on the new things that are happening with you. You went through this transformation, and it's been such a huge transformation. And a lot of people will look at what you went through and say, yeah, I can do it. I don't have the same kind of end of life kind of diagnosis that Shannon had, yet they can learn. They can learn, because I think what you learn is to get out of what you had in the past and then learn to live in a moment. Do the stuff now. Do the stuff, because you never know when your life is going to end. None of us do. You had the opportunity, and I don't know if you look at this opportunity, the way I see it, you had an opportunity to evaluate your life, given that you were given 3 months to a year to live, to take immediate action, to develop that sense of purpose, to live in a moment. Would you tell other people to do the same, whether or not they have a diagnosis like you had, to do the same thing in terms of living?
Yes, I have written a book that I have contributed to the hospital, CMN, for the emotional healing. And I speak there once a month now on heart healing. One of the first things, that attitude is everything, but that doesn't come so easily. We actually have to, about mountain climbing. You can't do anything in life without learning. Many people don't like to hear about self-help books, but I read many books just to get through post-traumatic stress disorder from, we'll talk about the stalker and what happened there, but I was traumatized throughout my life before I got stage 4 cancer. And the message to myself slowly was, you're worthless. You attract dark things. It was really sad that I actually felt shame and that I deserved it. And shame and guilt was just mounting up, resentment, anger, mounting up. And I really knew that I needed to liberate myself from that. And that is when I started to read and be intentional about changing and transforming. And the simplest little thing, a little picture of myself as a little girl next to a pony, posting that in a frame and looking at her and saying, that 5-year-old little girl is still you. The messages that you give to yourself of shame and guilt, those messages, it's like I'm telling her, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should feel guilty. These are lies. And we're talking to ourselves, and then like attracts like, and then we feel that around us from our loved ones. This is the great lie that lives within us. We are not what happens to us. Things happen to us, but they don't transform us. Our attitude about what happened to us is what transforms us. There's this wonderful story, short story of the three bricklayers. I don't know if you've ever heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Perspective runs both ways and in many different ways. And I love it. It's about these three bricklayers. And when asked what they were doing, their replies were all different from one another. The first man, when asked, what are you doing? He says, I'm laying bricks, real gruffly, you know. The second man, I'm building a wall. And the third man, when asked, he said, I'm building a cathedral. They're all doing the same thing, but their perspective is quite different. These are things that you learn, that you have to have these tools around you. You have to have the positive messages like I do on the wall. I even have happily ever after on the wall. I grew up thinking that I needed a prince to create my happily ever after. I haven't been to Hawaii yet. I haven't been to Italy, but I got a feeling it's going to be a journey I take by myself. I thought it was something I had to put on hold until I found that special person. It's so important, these messages of love. You can tell that little girl in the picture with the pony what you have planned for her, how you're going to get through cancer, how to make her feel safe. We have to connect that way with ourselves intentionally, daily, and we have to put tools around us for this new journey of transformation. So we can read, look at it. We have to do this.
Absolutely. I love the whole story and how you put it. And I think a lot of it, you answered some of the why there. Is there anything that you want to add on as to why you think that you went through this process, this transformation?
Yes, I'm Christian. I believe that there's this wonderful quote by Ernest Hemingway, A Farewell to Arms. The world breaks everyone. Afterward, many are strong in the broken places. And you told me a great story. Do you remember the story that you told me about the broken pottery in Kintsugi, turning broken objects into more beautiful pieces through that whole beautiful melted gold in the mending technique? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, that couldn't be more true. And I took stained glass classes when I was younger, and I remember the more pieces of colorful glass that I put together, the more beautiful the project. We hear this many times with diamonds. The more facets, the more brilliant. It's the journey of breaking and being mended is the beauty. It's until a wound runs its length, we don't see the full beauty of someone else. We see their beauty by hearing the story of the wounding in their life and how they pulled through it. And then our life is valuable because people learn from others who have been wounded. To go the straight and narrow and never get nicked or damaged, it's not a bad life, but it's not truly a life where people are going to learn to see their fullest potential during the hardest time of their life, where they thought life was over, their darkest hour. In my darkest hours, this is when I would turn that corner and I didn't see it coming. It reminds me of working in Seattle, and I'm in traffic on 6th and Pine, headed towards the ferry. It was my first day driving, and I thought, I'm never going to get to that ferry. As soon as I turned the corner, I could see the ferry. The traffic was done. We don't see it around the corner, but we have to have faith that we break, then we heal. We break, then we heal. And then if we have this attitude that I was telling you about earlier, just a simple post on our Facebook. We're talking about the World Wide Web. Everybody's, to be cute, stalking one another. Folks are looking for something. You could be the one that shines a light for someone else and you don't even know it. We affect each other.
Yes. I have to say, had it not been for the web, through social media, and to friends that I was able to connect with that way, we would have never been introduced to each other.
Absolutely not. I could say that about so many inspirational people in my life on this journey. When I was sick with cancer the first time in 2006, I had had knee surgery, foot surgery, staph infection where they did the bilateral mastectomy. I couldn't even push the wheelchair by myself. I was very dependent on people just to get to the bathroom. Social, back then it was MySpace.
Yes, MySpace.
That was the window to my whole world, to society. And I think about the impact that I made on people's lives and the impact that other people's stories and lives had on me to keep going one more day. We're all very significant to one another.
Absolutely. You show that through the numerous people that you've helped through your journey, through your continuing journey in life in making a difference. I'm going to ask you this last part. I call it the how. And the how is through 3 tips, strategies, or ideas that the listeners can take away that you learn that they can apply into their own life. What would that be?
I will give you one of the real effective ones. I talk to many cancer warriors. The common thread with all of them, or most of them, is the feeling of being let down by loved ones, the high expectations. I have learned and implemented and taught this one technique about evaluating our support system. When we're at our worst, the people in our lives that love us, we count on. It's taking a realistic evaluation of their abilities during your time of need, how they have been your support throughout your entire life, and recognizing what is realistic and unrealistic to expect from them. What I learned is, we'll use my family as an example, my brothers and sisters. When we look at our family members, what their abilities are emotionally and physically being there for us, just on an everyday relationship, getting sick doesn't transform them into someone that is going to make everything better for us. They're still going to do their best and be the way they've always been with us. In fact, most of the time, the fear of what we're going through freezes them. This is that post-traumatic stress freeze, flight.
Fight, freeze.
Right. Well, this happens to the family too. Here we are sick and we're thinking, younger brother doesn't care because he stopped calling me. So if anything, there's going to be some more deficiencies in what they were able to do for us because they're scared. They don't know what to do. They know that you've been diagnosed with stage 4 and they've been told that stage 4 is just a matter of time. You've got a death sentence. So the people who love us are not going to miraculously, for the most part, there's always an exception. They're not going to miraculously become someone else who is more supportive. So to make an evaluation, I give this little exercise, get a spiral notebook, just divide the page, name each page after everyone that's in your support group, 2 columns. On one side, unrealistic expectation. On the other side, realistic. Write down everyone's, what their abilities are on the realistic side and what you know about your brother, your sister, that is not something you've ever been able to count on, whether it's a phone call in the middle of the night. Your brother has never been the one to talk to in the middle of the night, so why would you expect it now? To set ourselves up to feel anger and resentment towards our loved ones because they're not doing the things we need them to do, it hurts us because we feel more unloved, and it's just not true. We need to look realistically at the abilities and the talents of our loved ones, and we may have a whole new set of support individuals that come into play here. And it doesn't mean to compare them. It doesn't mean we start being passive aggressive. I can count on this person more than you. It means start allowing other people in to be your support and be forgiving of your family that just is going through a lot of things they don't understand. I think that that is a real significant thing for me that happened in my life. And it also meant I had to do a lot of forgiving because I was pretty angry and resentful when family could not be there for me the way I wanted them to. I had to learn later what was going on. So I like to share that in advance because if they've got the knowledge, instead of waiting 4 years like I did, it's a lot easier to handle what's missing and turning to others that may not even be family. It's a new friend that's got cancer and going through the journey just like you.
Number one, because I like that, before we get to number 2, I think it offers the person, when they're evaluating their support system, is to also learn to take control for themselves, get that focus, get their mindset in order, start doing the right things. So this is very powerful.
Yes, we can steer our own lives.
Yes.
And if they can't help, we can gently let go. If they don't support, we can say, I still need to do what I need to do, and have that self-respect and draw that line and say, thank you for your input. Because a lot of people don't know what to say. You should be doing chemotherapy. Are you nuts? You can still say, I appreciate your input. Thank you. Making the decision on how to save my life is so important. This is on me. I've got to do what feels right.
I can see how this would work, not just one going through illness like what you went through. It could be for the entrepreneur that may not feel they're getting the support from family members on their own journey. It could be for somebody who's having challenges going through graduate school. It could be somebody who's starting a new job. It could be for almost any facet of life. This is perfect.
I remember sitting next to this, he must have been 19, 20 years old in college. He was withdrawing from his classes, and his father had plans for him of what he should be doing. And he just said, I want to travel. I'm not ready. I don't want to be in school. I want to take a break. It could be for someone like that, where a young man or woman needs to decide and have the strength to tell their parents, I guess that means you're going to kick me out of the house. I won't get my insurance benefits, but I want to travel the world.
Yes.
This is their journey.
Stated.
For all ages.
Okay, the second one.
The second tip would be, oh, this is so important, Bob. And you started out with asking me what my favorite quote was about designing a life that she loves. She designed a life she loved. Do what makes you oh so happy. Don't feel guilty. You can start right now today by saying, does this make me happy? Not doing things out of obligation, not feeling selfish, doing things that make you feel bliss, having it be okay. This is with everything. If you don't like your job, and every day I don't like my job, I've got to make money to pay my rent. Start looking at what makes you happy. And eventually, when you focus on those things, write it on the wall, write it on a piece of paper, put it in your dashboard. What makes you happy? What is your career? Do what makes you happy, even voluntarily, for a couple hours a week. And eventually, you will hit that mark and be doing what you love to do. It can happen. I'm doing what I love to do. Absolutely. I love working with women. I love being a life coach. Everybody's got to do what they love. I get hit up a lot with multi-level marketing, and that's just not for me. It's every day because I'm in the health industry. There's all kinds of different natural products, and everybody thinks that I would just be great for it. You know what, Bob? That's not me. And I always have to politely set that line and say, I'm happy for you and that you love it so much. I love what I'm doing, and say that.
Yes, which is very important, because when we do what we're happy doing, when we have that passion, what makes our heart move, and I tell people the same thing, to do what makes your heart sing. When you do what makes your heart sing, you're going to end up doing more of it. You're going to give more effort into it, your best self, like what you've been doing, Shannon, in terms of giving your complete heart into your work. And it's not like the same old typical job for you. It's your life's passion, your life's work, and being able to make a difference in other people's lives the way you do it. Other things that you've done, even though there may be millions and millions of dollars or all this other kind of stuff, that would not make your heart sing. Everything will come to you because of what you're doing, that projection from your heart. That's very powerful, and I love that.
Absolutely right, 100%. People ask me, what do you do for work? When I hear that now, I used to wait for that question. I work for Victoria's Secret. That's not my identity. My identity is I'm happy. What do you do for work? It doesn't feel like work. Nothing I do feels like work. It's my passion.
Yes. What would the third tip be?
Looking at all of the dark things that happened in my life as leading me to a better path. Even rejection, relationship. Rejection is redirection. The other day, I got to laugh about this one. I have this wonderful opportunity, this great new venture that I'm on, a branch on my tree, my beautiful tree. It just hit me. I said it out loud. I was walking to the kitchen. I said, you know what? Thank you for every single one of you that hurt me. And it wasn't sarcastic. I was like elated. Thank you, because it led me to where I am right now. And I finally got it. It wasn't something I could go to school for. I couldn't take a class on it. It was something I had to go through and get broken and healed and broken and mended and broken and broken and broken. And finally, broken hearts, broken everything, every part of my body, scars, to finally get to a point where I could just say, it's not that I'm unbreakable. Break me and watch me transform it. Our darkest hours are not eternal. It's our attitude about it, and that can change.
Absolutely. More people, if they understood, even right now, if you're listening to this and you're going through something really, really, really dark, that time period, look at it as, what can I extract from this? What is it trying to teach me? What is it that I'm able to discover about myself, about finding my path, like what Shannon has done, become stronger, better, and your best self ever. I love that, Shannon. Perfect.
I'd like to add something to that. I love visuals. But I think it will help those out there that need a visual. One that comes to mind, and I know I've shared this with you, and I don't know if it's a true story or if it's a fable, but boy, I relate to it. There are many people who feel victimized, and there is such a thing as being a victim for a time, and then we can choose to be victorious. But it reminds me of that story of the donkey in the well where they're piling dirt on the donkey. You can get buried, or you can find a way to climb up on top of that dirt until you get to the top. That's just something that comes to me all the time. Or that other little analogy where they're throwing dirt on you, and I don't know even who came up with this quote, but it's my visual, and that's what matters. They didn't know that I was a seed when they threw dirt on me. We can be a victim for a time. We can be in the dark, in the dirt for a time, and then we grow and become this big, beautiful flower and be seen that way.
And that's what you've done. You've become a big, beautiful. Yes. Well stated. Well, Shannon, this has been a great interview with a lot of good tips and amazing stories, your journey. A lot of people are going to be able to take away from your story, from the challenges, even at their darkest hours, what they perceive as their darkest hours, where they can grow and become stronger. And the 3 tips, looking at our own support system and evaluate them for the realistic and unrealistic from what you can expect from them. And again, using a notebook for each person with their own page based on a realistic and unrealistic. And then ask yourself, number 2, does this make me happy? Is it following my passion, my dream, what makes my heart sing? Finally, looking at the dark stuff that you're going through and helping to learn from that, to find that path, that strength and everything that was made for you, and becoming much better for it. And I like that quote of yours, rejection is redirection. That's perfect. Love that.
I read it somewhere. I wish I could give the credit to the person that wrote it, but it's so true. And it may say unknown, but it's so true, Bob. And I could go on and on with little tips, and it'll be in my book. And it is at the hospital that I went to, and it's very valuable. We can find a lot of tools out there. There are a lot of great self-help books, and post-traumatic stress is not my identity. I went through a time of brokenness, but it's not who I am.
Yeah, post-traumatic growth.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely. So Shannon, you mentioned angelsforshannon.com. How else can people get a hold of you?
The best way to find me is shannonite.com. It'll have everything that's connected in my life on that website.
Okay. If people wanted to be able to get a copy of that book, will they be able to do it, or is that just for the hospital?
I will be publishing it, and I will be starting a course called Women at the Crossroad, and that is in the works. I'm super excited about it. Can't wait to launch it. Many of the exercises that I do in my workshop are on shannonite.com.
Yes. Recently, you've been featured in a movie that's going to be coming out soon.
Against All Odds. I'm sorry. Secrets of the Keys.
Secrets of the Keys. Yes.
I've got a new one coming up, but then there's Secrets of the Keys. Against All Odds is coming out, and Secrets of the Keys will be launched soon with Robin J. That was a very inspirational and enlightening experience for me. I was around some really great people for that.
Yes, it's
good lineup.
A good lineup, and Shannon is a big part of that lineup. Look for both those films. Look for her book that she's going to have released, and her training, her course. anything else. Those businesses, companies, organizations, events, if you're looking for a dynamic speaker, presenter that can help you inspire your audiences, give Shannon a ring, send her an email. You can find her information again on shannonnight.com. Again, Shannon, thank you for this wonderful interview. I expect down the line I'll have you back with new things that you're doing, and I'm sure our audience is going to want to know everything else that you're doing as well. Again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to episode 12 of the School of Transformation podcast with my special guest, Shannon Knight. And don't forget to go to shannonnight.com and to check out what she's up to on a regular basis, find out when her book's coming out and anything else. Also, don't forget to go to the schooloftransformation.com website to grab my special gift, the Ultimate 10-Step Self-Confidence Cheat Sheet.